You already know what time it is. Welcome back into the NFL with AJL, episode 116. We are here right after Thursday Night Football as the Green Bay Packers absolutely handle the Washington Commanders. We will be picking college football week 3, just a few games, picking all the NFL games for week 2, and then a little bit of Jalen Carter discussion here at the end, as this episode will be hitting you guys Thursday night, Friday morning, again, right after the Thursday night football game. Told you guys we were bringing you more of that relevant recent content so we can get the analysis out faster to you guys. You already know I got the number one Packers fan in the house, Marcus Talk Sports, on the show. Get him introduced here in a second. Y'all make sure to like and share wherever you may be watching. Subscribe on YouTube. Hit the bell so you never miss a post. At NFL with AJL on all social platforms. That Linktree is in the description. Hope you guys enjoyed the game. Hope it's been a great week. Hope you've been enjoying the content that we've been pushing at you as well, especially having Marcus here on the show. As always, brother, good to have you in. I know you got to be feeling on top of the world, man. You handle the Lions, who might have a couple of different coordinators, all things considered, but you still shut down a top offense in the league over the last couple of years. Now you handle the Washington Commanders, who are maybe the most exciting team compared to how last year happened. How you feeling, brother? 2-0, 2 wins over very reputable teams, and statement wins at that, man. I think, what is it? 2 touchdowns, 1 touchdown allowed over the last 8 quarters that you guys have played. Absolute insanity. That's a heck of an intro to say, welcome to the show, brother.
I mean, it's always good to be here, and it does feel great. I mean, number one, there are a lot of friends, family, and coworkers who will be hearing from me tomorrow morning once I'm fully rested. So it's always nice. But I mean, I think, and I'm sure we'll get into it, there's a lot of different things to like about the win here, on both sides of the ball, coaching wise, offense, defense. But yeah, to your point, like, to start off the season at home for the first time since Matt LaFleur's been the head coach and get a win against the Lions, and then to follow that up on a short week again at home, with a win over the Commanders, has to feel great. We go to Cleveland next week, and then we go to Dallas.
Yep.
After that,
the next 5 games, I think, on the road.
They're on the road. Yep. I don't like the fact that we have a bye week in week 5 of all the weeks. It's got to be the worst. That's the earliest bye week possible, and we have it. And I hate that so much.
Bye week should not be allowed before at least 6 to 8 games of football have been played.
I feel like bye week shouldn't be allowed before the trade deadline, which is like week 8 now.
That's fair. I feel like everybody should have a bye week, so everybody can get rested. But, you know, the NFL make $400 billion a year. They can't waste any money now.
Roger. It is what it is. But no, I mean, there's a lot to love about this game, and I'm sure we'll get into a little bit of it today.
Yeah. Like we said, we're here with basically our instant reaction right after the Thursday night football, just the absolute throttling of the Washington Commanders. I see you peeking out of the corner of your eyes there. What's the score officially at?
It's still 27-18. Commanders have the ball right now. We're approaching 90 seconds left.
Okay. So it's over, though, for sure.
It's over, yeah. I'm just checking to see if maybe there might be like another big play or something on defense. It's defense really good tonight.
Yeah, speaking of that defense, man, I mean, you guys saw me do the King of the Hill Green Bay Packers edition. My boy Jensen, the broadcaster, jumped on and kind of took that one on the nose impromptu. He had no idea we were jumping in with that. But as we wind down for the last 90 seconds or so of the game, man, give me some of your takeaways. Again, just 2 dominant wins, 2 statement wins over 2 big-time teams. Are you feeling like the Packers are really contenders after a couple of games? And just give me the ultimate fandom take, man.
I mean, I do think so. I think, though, I'll temper my expectations until we get Micah off of this snap count. I don't think last week he played 28 snaps. I don't think
about 45% of those snaps.
I don't even think he played that. I think he might have played less today, just because, again, it was a really strong win it was a really strong game on both sides for much of the game. But I think the 2 biggest things that stick out to me, number one, is Keyshawn Nixon. Keyshawn Nixon made 4 really good defensive plays. He made it a point in the offseason to be like, yo, like, I am cornerback 1. Like, yes, I can return kicks, but I am cornerback 1 now that Jair is gone. He had 2 really good plays in coverage pass breakups against Noah Brown. He had another one against who I believe was Debo. And then he had another one against Terry McLaurin, I believe, over the middle. Like, he played really, really well on defense. And he played well last week as well. So, like, that's continued. And then Tucker Kraft, bro, over 100 yards. I believe he punched at 120-some yards, had a touchdown. And I will say it is unfortunate to see that Jaden Reed went down with what is either a dislocated shoulder or a broken collarbone on that big play that got called back because of the holding. But as soon as that happened, I was on the phone with my friend, and I was on the phone with my friend Bryce, and I was like, Tucker Kraft might go for $150 today. I think Tucker Craft is definitely in the conversation as one of the most underrated tight ends in the NFL. And
Agreed.
this is a guy who tonight, I don't think he passed the total, but the most receiving yards in a game for the Packers since 2015 was tonight with Tucker Craft. Before that, to go back to 2015 when Richard Rodgers had 146, 61 of those yards came in that on that Hail Mary reception from Aaron Rodgers in that game against Detroit, where we won on the last play of the game. Like Tucker Craft's really good, not just as a blocker, but as a pass catcher also. The Commanders just failed to convert on fourth down to the game.
Yep, just saw it officially this game.
Yeah, but I mean Tucker Craft not just as a blocking tight end, but passing and running blocking tight end, but also just as a pass catcher in the open field as well. Those are definitely the two big players, like the two players I think are players of the game on both sides of the ball. Gotta show love to Jordan Love. Ran over Terry Amos, I think is his name, on that scramble earlier in the game. But I think
Trey Amos came out with a nice PBU early on too.
He did.
Made a really nice play early in the game that saved a touchdown pass.
It
really did.
But I will say, I think the most impressive thing about this defense is, and there's a note being played right now that this is the first time that the Packers defense has allowed 250 yards in the first two games since 1995. So this defense, I think, we talked a lot about the addition of Micah Parsons and what Micah Parsons means when he's on the field. And right, you're talking about like obviously that's an additional pass rusher, he's an elite pass rusher. But I think what's most important is with Micah on the field, we're not rushing five as much as we used to. Right, we're able to just
the
rush
fact
four.
that you're getting pressure with
Micah's
four
getting double teamed.
freaking Eagles
Has to get double teamed. So Lucas Van Ness is coming free. Edgerrin Cooper's coming free. Devontae Wyatt's coming free. Devontae Wyatt actually got half a sack actually with Micah Parsons early in the game. Rashawn Gary's coming free. He also got a sack tonight. But more importantly, this cornerback room of Nate Hobbs, Keyshawn Nixon and company, it's not great. So having a guy like Micah Parsons up there with what is already an underrated pass rush, adding him to that gives those corners more time, gives those safeties and Xavier McKinney, Evan Williams, and even Javon Bullitt when he's on the field to get more time to stay locked in to their receivers, and make sure that the secondary can be what it is. I think this defense has top 10 potential. This defense might even be a top 5 defense in the NFL by the end of the season. I'm anxious. I'm looking forward, though, to seeing what this defense looks like when Micah's able to play every single defensive snap. Again, we know he's on pretty much like a pitch count right now just because of what's going on with his back, which isn't a major deal. But I think obviously they're probably going to keep him like this for much of the season unless they feel like the defense just falls apart and they need him out there more often than not. But if he's playing 30 some odd snaps a game and this is what the defense is looking like, I can only imagine what the defense look like when he's playing every single snap. And I like that they're putting them on. And he's coming onto the field on downs when you need him, right? Long second downs, long third down, fourth down conversions as well. Like he's coming out onto the field for plays where you absolutely need him. And it's still allowing the other pass rushers and the secondary to still be able to, get into a groove of things and still be impactful when he's not on the field, which again, I think will be great once he's fully on the field for every single snap. There's a lot to love. I would say the only thing about this game I didn't love is number one, winter warning game, September 11th, when it's 72 degrees outside, not very wintry. But also there were 4 balls that Jordan Love threw that were just out of reach. There was the first one against Dontavian Wicks where he had to, kind of dive for it on the goal line. He couldn't hold on to it. There was a deep ball for Matthew Golden. 2, the first one was after he got wrapped up on the punt return. Then there was another one. And then towards the end of the game, there was like a deep slant route to Romeo Dobbs that was just out of reach. Again, it's only week 2, so I think that stuff will get cleaned up. But I would say that's really the only issue I had with the game today, just those 4 balls. The score, obviously because the Commanders scored 2 touchdowns late, but even just on the Packer side of things specifically, we should have had more than 27 points tonight.
Absolutely.
This could have been a 40-some point performance. We went 4 on 4th down early in the game. We could have just took a 3. Brandon McManus missed the field goal going into the half as well. So there's 3 points there. We left points on the board earlier. We could have had a 40-point performance tonight. And again, for what is still for the 3rd year in a row, one of, if not the youngest team in the NFL, that bodes well.
I think they said the kicker was the only person on the roster over the age of 30. The kicker and one
our
other
kicker,
person, probably the punter,
our kicker and our punter are the only players on the team over the age of 30. Yep.
Yeah, having the youngest roster in the NFL is definitely something to boast about. I mean, people want to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles defense being the youngest one to ever go on and win the Super Bowl. And it's like you're talking about a very young defense in the Green Bay Packers just over the last few years. Now you got the new DC coming in. Like, clearly he has remade that regime. It's really nice to be able to see the way Micah Parsons is punching in. And like you said, I mean, this defense is going to be absolutely scary when Micah Parsons is off of that pitch count, because you saw Micah Parsons getting in on more of those first downs. He played a lot at the end of the third and really through the majority of the fourth quarter. And I just really think that was Green Bay scaring the hell out of, Jaden Daniels and Cliff Kingsbury and obviously Dan Quinn as well, like just making it frightful. Like, when number one is on the field, you pay all attention to him. The game plan is designed to stop him so you can do your other things, get your bread and butter, communicate with the X's and O's, and just be able to move the change. But I agree with you. If this defense is playing like this already, with Micah Parsons not even getting a ton of snaps, it's going to be wild to see as it comes down to it. But yeah, I agree with you. The Packers could have easily had a 40-point, 35-point performance tonight. You had Trey Amos, the rookie, like we just talked about earlier. He had a nice PBU that really saved a touchdown. And then you had Jordan Love overthrow Matthew Golden a couple of times. I mean, Matthew Golden with that elite speed, that top receiver in the class, it's going to be crazy when him and Jordan Love really start to connect, because, I believe, like, you look, Matthew Golden had no catches for no yards tonight, but he had quite a few targets, and he had just some overthrows from Jordan Love, to where it's like, if he catches those, it's like we talked about CeeDee Lamb against the Eagles. If he catches that, we're having a completely different conversation. But I believe when you look at the Green Bay Packers, man, like, we are truly witnessing something special right in front of our eyes. You said it's the first time since 1995 that they have given up that amount of yards on average over a couple of games. And the fact that they are just holding opponents out of the end zone is absolutely nuts. I mean, the Commanders had 11 yards in the first quarter. That was the least since week 17 of 2018, when they had 2 yards in the first quarter. I mean, Jaden Daniels came out. Yeah, he was 5 for 5, but he had about 15 yards, going in to the second quarter of this one. And I just got to say, as a New Orleans Saints fan, week in and week out, we continue to win that Marshawn Lattimore trade. He allowed 2 catches back to back and then a holding call early. He had 2 flags last week. You even had the announcers, the broadcasters on the Thursday Night Football literally broadcast going out and saying, like, Marshawn Lattimore in New Orleans used to be a lockdown corner. Now you take a look at him. He's scrappy. He's got flags thrown on him. I mean, he changed his number, right? He was never the Marshawn Lattimore in that black and gold in the number 23. He's just not that player anymore. And I'm so glad the Saints were able to move him when they did, get some draft capital off of him. But, Jordan Love, when he was not under pressure at one point in this football game, 7 for 7 and a touchdown. But when he did end up getting under pressure, 1 for 4, 6 yards and a sack. It was really crazy, just the absolute throttling that the Green Bay Packers really put on the Washington Commanders. I mean, Green Bay had almost a 70% success rate through about the first 20 minutes of game time in this game, not 20 minutes on your clock. We know game time, football time, two completely different things. And the Commanders had a less than 10% success rate. Jaden Daniels had a awful success rate tonight. And I want to give a shout out to the replay crew for determining the Packers challenge for that complete catch by Malik Heath, the 5th rounder that we were talking about.
Malik Heath there.
A great catch, a great ball by Jordan Love. I mean, very quickly, the replay crew took no time at all and really left no wonder in our minds, like, if it was the right call, if they were even going to make the right call. And again, just elite throw, elite catch. You can't put it together any better than that. And I think the Packers really set the tone coming out of this game as well. I mean, engineering a 96-yard and 92-yard touchdown drive to open the game up 14-0, while the Commanders' first 3 possessions were all punts, and they lasted an average of about 4 plays, specifically 3 plays, and then 6 plays, all punt on their on their opening drives. And I thought Jaden Daniels, him at the on the final drive of the second half, his decision-making was not very good. I mean, and then the fact that they turn around and they missed the field goal, that was really a potential 6-point swing if Green Bay would have turned around and, ended up making it. But, obviously they did. So it prevented that 6-point swing, that touchdown that could have been, extended for the Commanders. But here's the big thing. Are we looking at the same Washington Commanders football team that we saw last year? Because I do not believe that we are. Washington had no explosive plays in the first half. And as far as I'm concerned, they had no explosive plays in this football game. That was the worst ever under Dan Quinn. You got Jordan Love is out here averaging 15 yards a pass with just 5 completions and over 200 yards in the first half. And that was with overshooting Matthew Golden twice on deep throws, like we talked about a little bit earlier. It's I know we're only 2 weeks in, this Packers defense is very good. And I'm wondering if we are actually watching that same version of the Washington Commanders. I mean, missing 2 field goals for Washington in this game really just keeps them from making it a 5-point game. Obviously, they had a point in this game to where they could have extended, got closer, but they were really kept about 2 possessions out of this game the whole time. And they were consistently outgained by about 200, 250 yards. Here's the big thing. Jaden Daniels had 6 scrambles for 16 yards, no scrambles for first down in this game. Through 40 minutes of game time, even, he still had no scrambling first downs. Clearly, you talked about Tucker Kraft. I want to give a really awesome shout out to Matt LaFleur and the offensive coordinator. That beautiful trick play that y'all ran in the fourth quarter with Savion Williams going into the Wildcat, throwing Jordan Love out to the side, faking the pitch to Jordan Love as he was coming back around, and then just taking off on the left side of the field. I thought it was really great, man. But it's tough when you take a look at it again for Washington because Zach Ertz was your leading receiver. Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel just absolutely disappeared. Jaden Daniels looked a little shaken up at the end. I know you saw that play that the broadcasters were kind of concerned about. Wise Jr. left with a bad injury, and then Austin Eckler was injured towards the end of the game as well. So, I don't want to overreact and say like, oh, it's undoubtedly that the Green Bay Packers have the best defense in the league right now. But when you come out and you play against the Lions the way that you did, I get it. Different coordinators, we have to temper our expectations and understand that there is context within these situations. But then you come out against the Commanders, which the Packers were my pick in this game, no question about it. But then you're able to come out that way and just absolutely dominate them. Again, I don't know if we are watching this same Washington Commanders team that we had last year, man. It is a little concerning. But again, we also do have to realize, like we just mentioned a few times, that the Green Bay Packers defense is one of the best, if not potentially the best right now in the National Football League. NFL Week 2 picks as we get into Week 2 of the 2025 NFL season. Of course, we just had the Commanders and Packers. I know you as a Packers fan took Green Bay. I expected Green Bay to win this game as well, and I was kind of thinking that they were going to give it to the Commanders the way that they did. So you and I want to know on that front for the Week 2 of the picks. We got San Francisco traveling to New Orleans, over under of 40.5 points. San Francisco is actually favored by 3.5. Brock Purdy is a long shot to play in this game. George Kittle
Brock Purdy
banged up
is
as
not
well.
playing in this game. He's missing the next 2 to 5 weeks.
There you go, Brock Purdy. Breaking news here on NFL with AJL. He is not playing this game. He's missing the next 2 to 5 weeks. Who do you got winning this one? I'm sure you're going to say the Niners because you apparently don't know if the New Orleans Saints are going to win a football game this year.
I don't, especially not with Spencer Rattler throwing Chris Olave hospital balls every chance he gets. No,
yeah. Death taxes and hospital balls to Chris Olave.
I actually do think the Saints have a better chance to win this game now than they did entering the season, just because obviously no George Kittle, that does matter, no Brock Purdy, that does matter, and Christian McCaffrey is a bit banged up as well. But the Niners are still the better football team, so I will still pick the Niners to win. But hey, we're gonna get some McCorkle Jones playing time for the next 5 weeks, so you gotta love that. And Mac Jones, for all intents and purposes, Mac Jones is a poor man's Brock Purdy anyway. So who's to say the offense actually looks that much different?
Right.
I want to say the Niners. Well. I'm going to say the Niners, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Saints win this game, just because. I mean, you're without George Kittle, you're without your quarterback. Christian McCaffrey may or may not play in this game.
Right.
And if he does play, he's going to have to take a heavy load, which if he's dealing with a lingering injury, there's only Lord knows how long that'll last before he might get knocked out of there, unfortunately. It's going to require an elite defensive effort from the Niners to win this game, I think, not because the New Orleans offense is that great, but because the Niners are going to need as many possessions as possible on offense to win themselves this football game. But I do think the Niners can win.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Niners to win too. I would love to pick my Saints in a game where the Niners are very banged up, but I believe when it comes down to coaching, when it comes down to depth with the Niners versus the Saints, I just think the Niners have the edge there. And overall, I just believe that the Niners are the better football team. We got Dallas traveling to New York. Dallas is favored by 5.5. A little bit of some question marks around Deron Bland, the corner for Dallas, and then Andrew Thomas is doubtful for the Giants as well. Who you got winning this one?
I think the Cowboys are going to win this game. They have the better offense, which is really all that matters when you're playing the New York Giants, is which offense is better. CeeDee Lamb is not going to have a 4-drop performance against the New York Giants. In fact, I think he's going to make it a point to go off in this game because he beat himself up heavy after that opening night loss against the Eagles on Thursday night last week. But yeah, I have the Cowboys winning this one in New York as well, get their first win of the season.
I have the Cowboys winning this one too. It's funny that you say that, really all you got to do is just be the best version of yourself offensively with the Cowboys in order to win. If the Giants are able to turn that offense on some way, somehow, they get the quarterback decision right, which is going to be interesting to see how that just plays out over the year. But yeah, I've got Dallas being able to win this one. Miami at New England. Oddly enough, Miami is favored by 1.5. Don't even believe
I
that.
don't know why, because they couldn't score more than 8 points against the Indianapolis Colts last week. I do think
Exactly.
the Patriots are going to win this game. I was a little bit surprised to see them lose to the Raiders, but then again, I think that's just because I probably underrated what the Raiders were capable of this season. Very
Oh, yeah.
impressed with what the Raiders did last year, but I do think, or last week, sorry, but I do think that the Patriots are going to be able to win this game, get their first win of the season.
I'm taking Miami or not Miami. I'm taking New England in this one too. Jalen Waddle's going to be limited. Darren Waller limited as well, and then Christian Gonzalez kind of waiting to see what's going on with that hamstring. But I'll still take New England. I just have no faith in Miami. I can't even believe what's actually happening with that organization. Detroit traveling to Chicago. Detroit favored by about a touchdown, 6.5 here.
This one's interesting because I don't think Chicago looked terrible on Monday against
They
the
just
Vikings.
bared down
I think
and
it
weren't able to
just
put it together.
Yeah, it was just a very Bears type of game. They just couldn't put it together when it mattered most. I do still think the Lions can win this game, though. I think they're the better team. And the Lions are going to need to bounce back from what was a disaster of a first week game against Green Bay on the road. They're the better team. They're going to have something to prove. So I definitely do think they're going to be able to get the win against Chicago. But I expect this game to be just as good and just as interesting as the Bears-Viking game was on Monday.
I agree with you. I'm glad you said that. I think the 6.5 point spread is a little heavy for Detroit, considering how they looked against Green Bay and considering how Chicago looked against Minnesota. I will take the Lions to win this one, but if the Bears come out and upset, I think this is kind of like my sleeper game of the week here. Don't know why. I'm just feeling it as we're talking about it. Rams at Titans. Rams are favored by 5.5. Very odd, considering the team of the Titans.
I think the Rams are going to win this game. They are the better team. Um, I don't think it'll be particularly close, but I do think they'll get the win. Very impressed with what Cam Ward was able to do. You saw him get better over time in that game against the Broncos. And who would have thought that Cam Ward would have been the better quarterback on the field between him and Bo Nix? Bo Nix, I don't know what he was doing against
Yeah,
Tennessee in that game. Like
right.
the Broncos won that game in spite of how terribly Bo Nix played.
Yeah.
And one can only hope that there will never be another game in Bo Nix's NFL career that is as bad as that one was against the Tennessee Titans. But
Oh, yeah.
I think the Rams are going to win this one, and I think they'll win it handily. I might add.
I'll take the Rams to win this one as well. Baltimore at Cleveland. Baltimore favored by 11.5 points.
Baltimore, I
Biggest
think.
favorite of the weekend.
Yeah, this is the lock of the week. I think the only time the Baltimore Ravens have lost to the Browns is when Baker Mayfield was on the team. And even then, it might have been like one time. So the Ravens are going to run with this. Plus, they have a very bad taste in their mouth from literally they should be 1-0, but yet another terrible collapse in the fourth quarter under John Harbaugh. I saw a stat that said that the Ravens under John Harbaugh have the most losses when up double digits in the fourth quarter since John Harbaugh has been a head coach. I believe they have 19 losses when they've been up by double digits in the fourth quarter. I'm not sure if that includes regular season and playoffs, but that is not a good stat
Jeez.
for a team
Horrible.
that their entire fan base and a large chunk of the media and the viewing public view as the favorite to come out of the AFC. So they're going to have a lot to not necessarily a lot to prove, but they're going to have a bad taste in their mouth and a lot of frustration to take out. And unfortunately, they're going to take it out on the Browns.
Yeah. Yeah, I got Baltimore winning this one too. It's going to be a big time throttling, I'm sure. Them AFC North, correct? That's where we're
AFC
at.
North. Yep.
Yeah, the AFC North, we know those games can get a little interesting. We just saw it with Cleveland and Cincinnati, but the Cincinnati Bengals are the Cincinnati Bengals in week one of every single year, Joe Burrow included. Pittsburgh at Seattle. Pittsburgh favored by 2.5. Derek Harmon is out for the Steelers, and Jake Bobo is also out for Seattle as well. Don't know if Bobo will be as much as a effect as Derek Harmon not being able to play, but we got Pittsburgh favored by 2.5 in this one.
This might be game of the week. Aaron Rodgers 4 touchdowns in MetLife last week.
Yeah.
And what I thought was the funniest thing about that is last week in Lambeau was the 15-year reunion celebration of when the Packers won the Super Bowl in 2011. Meanwhile, while head coach Mike McCarthy and a bunch of other players from that team are celebrating in Lambeau, Aaron Rodgers is over there in MetLife Stadium throwing 4 touchdowns and making the Jets look silly. Um, I actually think the Steelers can win this game. Like, I don't know if Aaron
And
Rodgers will look as well as he looked last week, but I certainly don't think if he doesn't, there'll be a precipitous drop off. I think the Steelers, if there's one team I'm okay with being wrong about this season, it is the Pittsburgh Steelers because I am a
yeah,
Mike Tomlin guy. And in my
uh-huh.
heart of hearts, I have no problem admitting that the reason why I am a Packers fan is because of Aaron Rodgers. So seeing him go
Oh,
out there
yeah.
and do what he did last week was great. Who would have thought the Steelers could start the season 2-0?
Right. Right. Yeah, I'm going to take Pittsburgh to be able to win this game as well. I just think they're the better team than Seattle, and especially with the way that Aaron Rodgers looked in the first week, albeit it was the Jets, it was week 1, but we still got to give it credit where credit is due. Carolina at Arizona, the battle of the shortest quarterbacks in NFL history. Arizona's favored by 6.5.
I like Arizona in this one, but I think this one could be a sneaky good game. I like a little bit of what I saw from Carolina, not a whole lot. I mean, they didn't look great. And again, the delay of the game between them and the Jaguars certainly didn't help them. It seemed like it helped the Jaguars because they came out of that and just kept on rolling. But I think the Cardinals are going to win this game. I think it'll be a little bit before we see the Panthers win a game, but I think the Panthers will look better in their losses this year than they looked last year in their losses, but I still have the Cardinals winning this game.
Yeah. I think this could be a sneaky one as well. I feel like Carolina and Arizona can actually be a little evenly matched between quarterback, wide receiver. I mean, you got Tet versus Marvin Harrison, you got Bryce Young versus Kyler Murray. And I mean, even when you look at some of the head coaching matchups, like you can say what you want about Jonathan Gannon, but when you also take a look at Dave Canales, if I'm remembering correctly, for the Panthers as well, like it kind of feels like it's comparable. You're waiting for these guys to prove a little more than what you think they're really capable of. And of course, with David Tepper as your owner, you feel like you're always on a short lease, whatever you're doing as a Carolina Panthers head coach. So we'll see how that plays out. Give me Arizona for the win in this one. We got Denver, who was very shaky against Tennessee to open the season, against Indianapolis, who just absolutely throttled Miami. Don't know if that's as impressive. Dre Greenlaw is going to be out for Denver. Excuse me. He is limited, actually, with a quad, is what we've seen in practice. Denver is favored by just 1.5 on the road. I think it's because of how they played Tennessee. Who's your pick?
I don't expect Bo Nix to look as bad as he looked against the Titans. I also don't think Daniel Jones will look as good as he looked against the Dolphins. I think the Broncos are going to win this game. I think Bo Nix is going to bounce back. And I think Daniel Jones, not saying he's going to regress to the mean, because he only had 1 passing touchdown. He just had 2 rushing
Yeah.
touchdowns. But I do
Yeah.
think he's going to have some trouble against this Denver defense, which is a stout one and could potentially be one of the best in the league. So I'll take Denver on this one.
Yeah, I'll take Denver too. I feel like the line of 1.5 is a little disrespectful to them, but again, when you come out the way that you do in week 1 against Tennessee, who's expected to be one of the worst in the league, Vegas has no choice but to react. Definitely the matchup of the week that I know everybody is looking forward to. Philadelphia traveling to Kansas City, the rematch of the 2-time Super Bowl matchup we've seen over the last 3 seasons. We clearly know what happened the last time that they matched up. Philadelphia favored by 1.5. Landon Dickerson and Dallas Goedert have been a little practice day designated here, kind of wondering what they're going to be in this game. I think they'll be able to go. Obviously, Xavier Worthy's got an injury. Jalen Royals has an injury. So that wide receiver depth is limited for Kansas City. Shout out to my boy JV, who said, look, Kansas City just needs to bring Tyreek Hill back home. Again, Philly favored by 1.5 in the Super Bowl rematch. I'm taking Philly. What do you got?
I saw something earlier today that said this is the first time that 2 quarterbacks who have beaten each other in a Super Bowl are rematching in a Super Bowl rematch. It's never happened before, which I thought was interesting. I think the
Wow.
Eagles are going to win this game. I think this would be this would be the first time in the Mahomes era that the Chiefs start a year off 0-2.
Yeah.
Um, the Eagles are still the better team, and I don't want to say they caught a break because I think even without Jalen Carter they would have won this game, but they do catch a bit of a break by getting to have Jalen Carter in this game as well. But yeah, I think the Eagles are going to win this game. They're the better team. They have the better offense. They've got the better defense. They have the better support around their quarterback. They don't have the better coach. Andy Reid is still the better coach, but
Yeah.
Nick Sirianni has more of his assets at his disposal than Andy Reid has at his, and so I think that will bode well for the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I
Also,
said,
why this isn't a primetime game, I don't understand.
right? We're going to have Tampa Bay and Houston LA at Vegas
How many
and
times has the
Minnesota
Super
at
Bowl
Atlanta.
rematch? How many times has the Super Bowl rematch not been either a primetime game or a standalone game?
I
I don't
don't know if it's
understand.
ever not been.
Yeah, I don't
Respectfully, I
understand
don't
how
know if
that.
it's ever not been.
Also, has it ever happened this early in the season? Like, why is this a
I
week 2?
don't believe so.
Like,
I don't believe so.
this should be like later in the season when both teams are really in true to form. We can see them give us a
Yeah.
game like similar to what they gave us in the Super Bowl. I
Yeah.
don't get it.
Can't lie. The first 2 weeks of this NFL season, just the matchups, I feel like are some of the best
They're
first
funky,
2 weeks.
bro.
Like, hey, we actually got to lean into some picks and see what
Yeah,
we're doing here.
yeah.
Minnesota at Atlanta. Minnesota favored by 3.5. Drake London's been a little limited in practice with a shoulder. This is going to be a good football game, I believe. I want to know who you're taking first.
I literally was reading a thing about Micah Parsons. I wasn't paying attention. It's the Falcons versus who?
Yeah, no, you're fine. Minnesota at Atlanta. Minnesota's favored by 3.5.
Right. This one's going to be interesting. I think this could be a really good game as well. I was really impressed with what I saw from the Falcons last week. And what was a really good game that should have gone to overtime. Youngway Koo
Yeah,
missing that kick at the end there. I don't know what happened.
I loved it.
Um,
I loved it. I was literally blowing it out of the goalpost on my TV screen after the Saints had taken the loss to the Cardinals.
yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with the Vikings here. I think for JJ McCarthy's first game to be against the team he grew up rooting for in prime time against the Bears, for him to play decent in that game and get a win, he's got to be feeling really good. The team has to be feeling really good. Obviously, start the year off with a divisional win. And I think the Falcons are in a similar position, a young team kind of trying to figure things out and kind of what their identity is going to be moving through the course of the season. But I think the Vikings are better on paper, and I think they have the better head coach. So I'm going to take the Vikings to start the year off 2-0 with a win against Atlanta.
I'm going to take the Vikings to win too. I think it's a very winnable game for the Atlanta Falcons again.
For sure.
Their roster on paper, even their defense on paper, their just units and weapons on paper are great. But then you take a look at how they play situationally, and you take a look at the coaching, and you take a look at the coordinators in the front office, and you finally, not even finally, you just truly understand where Atlanta sits with everything and why a game like this is winnable for them, but they will lose, and I will take Minnesota. Tampa Bay at Houston, the early Monday Night Football game. We got a doubleheader on Monday Night Football. This one kicks at 7 Eastern time. Houston's favored by 2.5. Chris Godwin will not play again. He is out with an ankle injury, and Tristan Wirfs is also out with a knee injury, two of the biggest pieces of that Bucs offense. And then on Houston's side, Braxton Berrios and Christian Kirk both out with a hamstring injury. Again, Houston by 2.5 points as the favorite. Who do you got?
I don't know how Houston can be favored in this game given how terrible they looked in LA last week. I'm taking the Bucs to win this game. Emeka Egbuka, 2 touchdowns last week, looked really, really good. In fact, I'm adding him to the anytime touchdown parlay for the weekend. And I'm taking Bucky Irving off because I think Bucky Irving, maybe I'll keep him on. I don't know. But the Bucs, even though they're missing Tristan Wirfs and Christian Godwin, Chris Godwin, excuse me, they looked better. Granted, they did almost lose that game to the Falcons potentially. But they look better. I don't know what's happening with Houston. I think they'll get better once the season progresses, especially once, the wide receiver core is fully healthy. Christian Kirk, Tank Dell, Nico Collins, all 3 of them are available healthy at the same time. Until then, they're going to have to figure something out. Maybe need to lean on Nick Chubb a little bit more. I don't know. But until then, I'm going to say the Buccaneers are going to get this one and go to 2-0.
I got to take Houston with the win. They're at home. They need to have a bounce back. They just played a really smash mouth team in the Rams that I don't know if the Bucs are actually going to be able to kind of replicate and give them issues with. And I just think the fact that, again, no Chris Godwin, no Tristan Wirfs, both officially out in this game, I just think that's going to really affect things here for Houston. I think we'll really be able to see some Will Anderson getting at it, and obviously Nick Chubb getting more of a workload as well. Final game here on the slate, the late Monday Night Football game. It will kick at 10 p.m. Eastern time. We have the Chargers traveling to the Raiders. The Chargers are favored by 3.5. I think this could be a good game as well. We literally picked every game on the slate for week 2 of the NFL. Who you got?
First of all, the Monday night doubleheaders have to stop.
They have to. They absolutely have to stop.
Because number one, the 10 o'clock game is going to start before the first game is even over. And you're crazy if you think I'm going to be up until 1 o'clock in the morning watching a football game. You're nuts.
And then you want me to make content on it too?
Yeah,
and then you want me to get up to the next morning and go to the gym?
Yeah, you've lost your mind. I got to go work and teach kids and all that. No, it's not happening. The Chargers, though, this would be my lock of the week. I think the Chargers are going to win this game. They have to feel really, really good coming home from Brazil and getting one over the Chiefs. It is their second win over the Chiefs since Justin Herbert has been the quarterback. They are now 7-2 against the Chiefs. Has to feel really good, especially because it was kind of like never a doubt that they were going to win that game. Like they were in control of that game from start to finish, pretty much. The Raiders, again, impressive win last week against the Patriots. I was thoroughly impressed by Geno Smith. Obviously, always impressed by Brock Bowers. And I think this game could be interesting. But when it's all said and done, I do think that the Chargers are going to get the win and move to 2-0. And I think we'd have to have some interesting conversations about the outlook and the future of the AFC West, because the Chargers with a win would have 2 wins in the division already, while also handing out 2 divisional losses to a team in the Chiefs who we expect to be competitive in the division, obviously through the Chiefs, and a team in the Raiders who, if they win enough games, especially within the division, they could make some noise. So to start the season off 2-0 with 2 divisional wins would do wonders for their confidence and do wonders for just their outlook on the season overall. So I definitely think the Chargers are going to win this game.
Yeah, I've got the Chargers winning too. I think the Raiders can definitely turn around and make this game competitive. And we see how they played against New England. I had them one of my sleeper teams coming in. But I think with the way the Chargers looked against the Chiefs and then just them being fired up, like Justin Herbert immediately putting himself into that MVP conversation, I don't see how the Chargers could let this one slip away. You guys get in the comments. Let us know what you think of these NFL Week 2 picks as we get into college football Week 3 picks. Let's go ahead and pick these few college football games as we have a pretty good matchup, a pretty good slate for Week 3 of the college football season in 2025. We have Georgia traveling to Tennessee. Georgia is favored by 3.5. This is going to be the biggest test of the season for my Georgia Bulldogs. We saw how they played against Austin Peay, which I don't think is a big deal. Clearly, the committee and fan bases wanted to see more. Of course, they throttled Marshall to open the year, but this is the big test. SEC play, 8 straight games of SEC football up for Georgia.
Go Dogs. I got the Georgia Bulldogs winning this game. I was impressed with what I saw from Tennessee last week and their quarterback. But I mean, this is Georgia. Georgia's been one of the best teams in the country for the past 5 years now, it seems like at this point. And if there is a team in the SEC that I would be concerned for Georgia to lose to, it would be the Georgia Bulldogs, because there's not a single team in the SEC right now that gives me any concern when it comes to matching up against the Bulldogs. So I'm going to take Georgia here.
Damn, I love to hear that. There's not a team in the SEC right now that gives you worries when matching up against the Bulldogs. So not LSU?
No, because I think, and I would say that LSU would be the closest.
Auburn?
And I will say, I actually like what LSU is doing, this whole 1-0 mentality thing, like in their facility, they cover up the previous game weeks and all the future weeks. And just like, I like that. And I think it could be interesting, later on in the season. But I think Brian Kelly, and really good win against Clemson, but I think Brian Kelly has to prove that he's capable of getting the LSU Tigers in a position to legitimately be considered as a threat to Georgia. Like, we know that Alabama's not a threat anymore. And if it's going to be any team in the SEC, it would be LSU. In fact, I think that'll probably be the SEC. And that's the likely SEC championship matchup is LSU versus Georgia, unless Alabama figures out what they're doing and turns it around with DeBoer. But yeah, I would say right now, I don't think there's a team in the SEC that I would, and when I say could match up with, I mean, like, I would still pick Georgia to win that game, but I wouldn't be nervous about it. You know what I mean? Like, I think right now, Georgia is still not far and away, but there's still a gap between Georgia and every other team in the SEC.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hear you. That's a good answer. I think Tennessee, LSU, and maybe even Auburn and Alabama. Like, I just think they could push us around a little bit. It's early in the season. Again, we got an 8 straight, game. Stretch of SEC football, and Kirby's just going to have to tighten up. I mean, you guys see me talking about it on the show. Obviously, I'm going to take my Dogs here. I do believe we're the better team. This is really our get right game. This is the get on track game to go on for that 8 straight SEC, game streak, like I mentioned a couple times here already. So give me the Bulldogs. We got Miami and USF. Miami is favored by 17.5. USF, I think, just oddly getting ranked because they're able to beat Florida. Major disappointment. Players spitting on each other. Kind of talking about a situation like that next on the show before we wrap it up. Who's your pick with Miami and USF?
I kind of want to go with the underdogs here and just say USF because they were able to get a win against the other team in Florida. in Florida. But no, Miami is going to win this game. They're the better team. They're more prepared, or not more prepared, but they're better coached. But I mean, dude, big win for USF last week against Florida. That's huge.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a massive win for USF, and that's exactly why they're getting the love that they're getting. I will take Miami to win this game. I just think Carson Beck, Mario Cristobal, everything that they're building over there, unfortunately, as much as I don't like to admit it with Miami, I don't know how they could lose this football game. We have LSU and Florida. LSU favored by just 7.5. Very interesting.
I think LSU is going to beat the brakes off of Florida this weekend. I don't think it's going to be pretty at all. And I know I just said that Brian Kelly and the Tigers have a lot to prove in order to get to a point where I could look at them and say they are a legit threat to the Bulldogs. Beating the brakes off the Florida Gators is the first step in that direction, I think. I do expect them to make the SEC championship game, as I mentioned. I expect them to be a playoff team as well. Questions about Brian Kelly, I think, are valid at this point, just because we haven't seen him in LSU yet string together a full cohesive season of competitiveness and dominance and like
Yeah.
legit championship contention. But I think he has a great opportunity to do so this season. And I think the next step towards that is beating the doors off of the Florida Gators, which I think they will do.
Yeah, they better handle Florida because the way that they come out and win against Clemson, then you have the win last week, which I think it's funny how Georgia deals with almost a 2-hour lightning delay and Georgia drops in the rankings, even though they beat Austin P worse than LSU, I believe, beat their matchup. And it's just interesting, right? But like it is what it is. It's funny how the
Yeah.
committee views stuff. I'm almost like, do I even need to look at these numbers next to these college football teams for the 1 through 25? Or do I just need to watch them play like we're going to watch over the next few weeks and a few months, which is great. Yeah, I've got LSU. Excuse me. I've got LSU winning this one. We got Notre Dame and Texas A&M. Notre Dame, excuse me, favored by 6.5. Who you got?
This is an interesting one because I actually kind of thought Notre Dame would run through their schedule. Not run through it, but I thought that they would. Yeah, I guess I did kind of think they'd run through their schedule coming into the season just because of a great year they had last year. Obviously, they were the runner-ups in the national championship to Ohio State. I do think they're going to win this game. I need to kind of see a glimpse of that Notre Dame team from last season that made it all the way to the national championship game. I don't think we've seen that yet, but there's another opportunity against a tough Texas A&M team to do that. I think they'll get the job done. I think they'll win, and maybe we see a glimpse of that team that made it to the national championship last season.
Yeah, I'll take Notre Dame with the win as well. I just think they're head, shoulders, knees, and toes better than Texas A&M. And like you said, if they can show up in this game and show us that Marcus Freeman spirit that they played through all the way with the national championship last year, unfortunately, not able to bring home the win. We'll see what happens. We got Oregon taking on Northwestern. Oregon favored by 4 touchdowns in this one. Who you got?
Again, as an Oregon fan, it sucks that this is how our season is starting because we're going to continue to be undefeated and win football games, but we're not really beating teams where I, as a fan, can be proud of those wins, right? We beat the doors off Montana State. We beat the brakes off Oklahoma State. We're going to beat the brakes off Northwestern, right? Like there's not a lot to be happy about, but these games are opportunities and tune-ups for that big matchup in 2 weeks in Happy Valley at Penn State, and what is going to be our biggest game of the season and probably the biggest game of the college season altogether. Because I think the winner of that game meets Ohio State in the Big Ten championship. And Oregon, I think, is going to have a bit of a chip on their shoulder. I like what I've seen from Dante Moore so far this season. Love what I've seen from DeCorian Moore so far this season. Our running back room is the deepest running back room in the country. Jordan James, Noah Whittington, Lamar, and then also, of course, Micaiah Hughes, who we brought over from Tulane, who I honestly thought would get a little bit more run, no pun intended, in our running back room because of how great he was at Tulane. But I actually like the way that we use him so far. And of course, we continue to beat the brakes off teams. He'll get a lot of those late game touches, a lot of those late game runs and things of that nature. But I say that to say I've got Oregon beat Northwestern this weekend.
I've got Oregon taking the win as well. I just think they will be able to throttle Northwestern. Clemson and Georgia Tech. Clemson only favored by about 3 to 3.5, over under about 52.5, 53.5 in this game. Georgia Tech, sneaky. We know Haynes King. We understand the coaching. I believe Brent Key, if I'm not mistaken. We understand the coaching staff that's over there when they play at home at Bobby Dodd, and really when they travel as well. Like they've always, not always, they've been a competitive football team over the last couple of years. I will take Clemson with the win. Who do you have?
I'm going to take Clemson with the win. However, Clemson lost week 1 to LSU. Clemson went
And
into
looked
half
pedestrian going
last
down with
week.
it too.
Yeah, Clemson went into half last week against Troy down. The era of dominance for Brian Dable and the Clemson Tigers in the ACC are over. They're
Dabo
done.
Swinney, you mean?
Dabo Swinney, I'm sorry. They're done. They're absolutely done. Like, I don't even know if I look at this Clemson Tigers team as a legitimate team that can even as a shoe-in for the playoffs anymore, the way that we used to way back when.
Yeah.
And when I look at some of the other teams in the ACC, SMU, who had a heartbreaking loss to Baylor last week, and they should have won that game. I look at even a team like Florida State, I think has the most exciting quarterback in the country right now in Tommy Castellanos,
Oh, yes. Thank God somebody
yeah,
said it with me.
who I will go as far as to say is the Anthony Edwards of college football right now. Like, just the swag and the aura, like to call your shot in June against Bama and then back it up every step of the way to open up the season, right? That is a team that they will meet in a couple of weeks. They need this win, and it needs to be a big one. Like, they need to beat the brakes off Georgia Tech. If Georgia Tech, even for a second, has a legitimate chance to win this game, I think that means big trouble for the Clemson Tigers moving forward through the course of the season. Obviously, they follow up with Syracuse and UNC. I think they have Boston College in there somewhere, and Duke as well. But those two games against SMU and Florida State are going to make or break their season. They need to go into those games feeling confident, and losing to LSU and almost losing to Troy is not the way to do it. So I'm going to pick Clemson as the better team, but boy, oh boy, if they lose this game, or if this game isn't the blowout it's supposed to be, there's going to be a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of questions need to start being asked about Dabo Swinney and the Clemson Tigers program for sure.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing too, is I've actually had this conversation with a couple of, deep college football fans, really my brothers and really like my second dad at the end of the day. Dabo will never get fired from Clemson. Dabo Swinney will never be fired from Clemson. He will have to resign because he is one of those coaches in college football, bro, that you just can't touch. It's like Kirby Smart will never be fired.
No.
Marcus Freeman will probably never be fired. Dabo Swinney will never be fired. It's like when you take a look at John Harbaugh with the Ravens, he's just kind of unfireable. Sean McVay with the Rams, you just don't let go of a coach like that. Clearly, Andy Reid, you've got the Siriannis, but to me, Dabo Swinney is one of those coaches that you just can't fire him. Like, he will have to resign before Clemson lets him go. I've just kind of always thought that. I feel like there's just some of those coaches out there. It's like you would have to really mess it up in order to get fired. Yeah, I've got Clemson winning too. They're clearly the better football team, but you stated it well with Troy and LSU. And it's like, if they slip up against Georgia Tech has the opportunity to take that game and, really take it home for the upset. Jalen Carter is not being suspended after spitting on Dak Prescott in the NFL season opener. The way the league handled it was very interesting. They are now just going to fine Jalen Carter $57,222 and announce that the ejection would count as a one-game suspension served. What's your take on, not shockingly, the NFL sloppily handling discipline? I mean, spitting on someone is grounds for literally mauling them like a human and just, absolutely throwing hands. I'm sorry. If somebody ever spit on me, like we're fighting. It's just that simple to me. What's your take on this, man?
I understand for the people who are upset about the suspension or lack thereof, I definitely do understand it. However, from the NFL perspective, it happened before a snap of football was played aside from the opening kickoff. So for all intents and purposes, Jalen Carter did miss an entire game. Yeah. So I understand the thought
he
process.
100% did.
Yes, I
he don't play special teams. He didn't play snap.
Yeah, he doesn't play. So he missed the entire game. So I understand the thought process of the league of essentially suspending Jalen Carter for the game against the Chiefs would essentially mean he's been suspended for 2 games for spitting on someone. And I definitely so in that regard, I understand why the suspension didn't happen. The only thing, though, that I would like to mention is Nick Wright responded, and we know Nick Wright is probably the biggest Chiefs fan on the planet.
Mahomes Mountain.
Nick Wright.
I did not even click that video the other day, bro. I was like, we talk about Glaze Fest for Mahomes. This brother just made a whole Mahomes Mountain?
So
okay, Nick Wright. Worst haircut on the internet.
Nick Wright mentioned on his pod today that Jalen Carter not being suspended for the Chiefs game should be enough for the masses to stop with the whole the Chiefs is the only team in the NFL that gets all these lucky breaks. And like from a Chiefs fan perspective, I understand that. But again, at the same time, you can literally look at the last 3 to 5 years and see the team with the most favorable calls is the Kansas City Chiefs. So it's not like that narrative is just spun out of nowhere. With that in mind, again, like you said, you spit on me, it's going to take a lot of people to get me off you.
Yep. I mean, to me, when you spit on a human, you view them as dirt. Like you view them as dog poop on your shoe
on the
like,
ground. So
literally.
if you're spitting on me, that makes me think that you think I'm trash. So it's going to take a lot of people to get me off you.
I literally spit on the ground. I spit in the toilet. I spit in the sink. Lady hates it when I spit in the trash can, but like you spit in places where things of value are usually not placed. So when you spit on a human, what value are you placing on them?
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I have no notes. I agree. But again, I think from the NFL perspective, he didn't play at all last week. It's a suspension. If it happens like later in the game, for example, if it happens in the first half, he missed the entire second, they probably suspend him for the first half of the next game, right? I think that tends to be what the NFL does generally, is take a look at the whole time served thing as to not make it egregious. This is one of few times I actually think the NFL got it right when it comes to disciplining players. Now, they can't get it right when it comes to the way that players speed and kill people on highways or beat on women or children or gambling, but that's another conversation for another day. I guess we can give the NFL a small.
Right. And see, I'm not going to get into the angle that you just got into, but I get exactly where you're coming from. It's like just the sloppy handling of it from the league. And I want to hit you with a question before I give my take. We'll have this little statement here, though. Like the early reporting that suggested a suspension was on the table, and then the league ultimately pulls it back. They called the ejection, the fine, and the ejection and the fine. It's discipline. So that shift from suspension possible and a fine to, okay, the ejection now counts as a served game is very interesting. A lot of people are very convinced that Dak Prescott spit at Jalen Carter first. What's your take on that?
So I did see the video.
Oh, me too.
I can understand the thought process because Dak spits and then he looks at Jalen Carter, like gives him a nod and smiles. It definitely makes it look like he was spitting in the direction of Jalen Carter, like he was rage baiting. However, at the same time, Dak Prescott doesn't strike me as a person who would spit in the direction of someone.
No.
Like, if Dak Prescott wanted to spit on Jalen Carter,
he would have spit on Jalen Carter like Jalen Carter fucking spit on Dak.
Jalen Carter spat on him. I think that's what would have happened. I think I actually believe what Dak Prescott said. He was spitting just kind of over his lineman's shoulder. He looked up and he saw Jalen Carter, gave him a nod and a smile. Now, what I will say, because I say this to my kids at work all the time, I work with middle schoolers. Even if Dak Prescott did spit in the direction of Jalen Carter, the refs didn't see it. What the refs did see was Jalen Carter hawk a loogie on the chest of Dak Prescott. Like, it's not like it happened behind his back, like it happened. And what I tell my kids at work all the time is, generally speaking, a kid might hit you or throw something at you or say something to you, and I might not see it. If I hear you curse at them or call them out their names, or I hear you slap them back, yeah, you're going to be the one that gets in trouble first because I heard you or saw you do it.
Laps loudest.
Yeah. The second reaction is always the reaction that gets in trouble. So even if Dak did spit in Jalen Carter,
it's never the instigator.
It's never, again, I don't think Dak instigated. I genuinely think Dak needed this. He's a football player. They spit all the time. I think he legitimately just spit it on the ground, looked up, said what's up to Jalen Carter. But given where Jalen Carter is from, both childhood-wise and also the school he went to, I can absolutely understand.
He is representing the city of Philadelphia.
Yeah, I can absolutely understand how Jalen Carter could take that as Dak spinning in my direction. But again, I could never fathom even thinking of spitting on another human being. Like, that's just how I was raised. I would never think, even if someone spit in my direction, I would never think, I'm going to spit on you. Like that would just never happen. So
Yeah.
it's an interesting thing for sure.
It's literally the lowest form of human action I believe you can commit. And then obviously way down low is like the R word, the M word, the H word. Like we're not going to say that for terms of being censored, but like spitting is a very, like, again, to me, if you have the gumption, the lack of couth, the balls to spit on another man and hawk Tua on that thing, like he literally did on Dak's chest, like, kudos to Dak Prescott for holding his cool. Kudos to Dak Prescott for holding his cool. And I'll just go out here and say this. If you're really trying to say that Dak Prescott spitting at the ground by his offensive lineman was him starting it, antagonizing it, being the instigator, spitting in Jalen Carter's direction, I genuinely wonder how you deal with conflict in your life when you have peer pressure and other people around you just trying to get you to make a decision. And because we live in the world of and, not but or, and Dak Prescott quite literally rage baited Jalen Carter into the reaction that he wanted. He got him tossed. I am baffled by the amount of people that are literally saying Dak Prescott started it. Yeah, did Dak play it well? For sure. I believe he knew with Jalen Carter standing outside of that huddle. And then when Jalen Carter started to chime in and he started trying to chirp at Tyler Smith, who is an offensive lineman as a rookie, Dak stepped in to defend his guy, stepped through and said, "What's up, bro? Why would I spit at you? We're literally about to compete." And unless Dak Prescott is just giving us the best cover up of his life, Dak Prescott is literally America's quarterback. Like, he is the perfect podium quarterback, the character. When do we ever really discount Dak Prescott for who he is as a human, right? As a quarterback, clearly. But when he's at the podium, when he's being interviewed, outside of saying, "Oh, I feel like we could hang with the Eagles," which, hell, when Jalen Carter gets tossed and you ain't got Micah Parsons and you come out in the season opener on Thursday night, his claim was kind of valid. But I just can't believe that people are literally trying to justify the lowest level of respect I've seen in a while between two professional athletes, not just two NFL players, and say that Dak Prescott started it. Let me give you my take on this just entire situation, though, before we really get out of here. Yeah, so you have that early reporting coming in, like, yeah, it's leaning towards a suspension. Obviously, we knew he was going to get fined. I think the 57,222 is absolutely hilarious. That has to be a percentage of something, right? Like, what an odd number. There are no clear prior NFL cases where a player was suspended specifically for spitting in a game and missed additional games for it. Historically, spitting incidences in pro football have led to ejections and fines, obviously public backlash, vitriol. We understand what social media can do, but not the kind of multi-game suspensions that we see for other violent PED-related offenses. We've seen Rashee Rice. We've seen guys like Ray Rice suspended for the personal conduct, for driving, for PEDs, like not specifically those guys with PEDs and everything, but you guys get the example that I'm throwing out there, because the league framed it as an unsportsmanlike / non-football act. The defense of the quarterback safety and the sports image really matters for the National Football League. Like, we know that. And it's really a PR angle because the NFL wanted to control and make an example without removing a top defender from the product, which naturally cost them ratings, which naturally cost them the game. The NFL had to punish to protect the game, but not so harshly to where it cost the fans the player the following week in the Super Bowl matchup. And, the NFL played this one perfectly, right? The fine, great. Who are we to say that $57K might be enough? Because that might not be enough. That's a lot to me. I'm sure that's a lot to Jalen Carter.
I think
Do you think a loogie's worth $57,222 on the chest of Dak Prescott who makes $60 million a year? I guarantee you Jalen Carter and his family and his friends do not believe so. But it's not even about his family and friends. It's about Jalen Carter and what he truly believed was worth it in that moment. So, again, they played it perfectly because the fact that Jalen Carter did it when he did and got tossed literally after the opening kickoff, yeah, you can easily say that it was a suspension served. And they did not want to take him away from the Super Bowl matchup that we already mentioned is pretty crazy earlier in the year. Not a primetime game, only time where two of these quarterbacks have beat each other in a Super Bowl, and now they're meeting in the regular season. Again, the NFL punished Jalen Carter. They fined him. They counted the ejection as his one-game suspension. But like the bigger story isn't about the dollar amount. It's really how the league changed the playbook without changing the rule book. You see what I'm saying, Marcus? Like they changed the play, but they still got the same result. They just drew the X's and O's up a little differently. Like you can argue that Jalen Carter paid the price, but because he was out of the game, like he didn't play. But the optics matter because you hear suspension and then you get the fine. Oh, and the fact that we threw him out early. Okay, now that's it. That's a precedent that the NFLPA will more than likely want to spell out for future incidents or beginning of game ejections. Like how do we really handle this, right? That's going to be a wrap for episode 116. I appreciate everybody jumping in as we had a great time coming here right as the Commanders-Packers game was ending. We gave you our week 2 NFL picks, our week 3 college football picks, and we just chopped it up with the sloppy handling of Jalen Carter's suspension and fine that the NFL just handed out. Marcus, as always, man, it was great to have you. Please plug yourself. Tell the people about what you're doing before we get out of here.
Oh, yeah, brother. If you can't find me, you're not trying hard enough. Marcus Talk Sports on all the places.
It's great to have you on, man. At Protect Our Queens for him as well. Check out at Give Us a Shot Network. Marcus is just constantly doing the work. Again, if you are looking for a WNBA podcast, go check out Protect Our Queens. Him and his partner are doing absolutely amazing work. Of course, at NFL with AJL on all social media platforms. Please make sure to like and share the podcast. Leave us a review wherever you're listening. Please hit the bell on YouTube. Subscribe so you don't miss any of our posts. Please go check us out at the link tree in the at the link tree in the description of the video for all things social media and podcasts at NFL with AJL. Make sure to comment, share the content, roast me about my hairline and the fact that I look like Spencer Rattler. Tell me how the Saints aren't going to win any football games this year. I'm here for all of it. Like I said, we read everything. As always, we love y'all, we need y'all, and we will see y'all in episode 117. We will be hitting you guys on a Monday morning, afternoon-ish show. We got a packed week of college football. We got a packed week of NFL. JT Sports is going to be chopping it up with me. We'll see y'all in the next one.